everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. We're randoming. I want to random with you. We're random. No! I hope you like random too. Well, 372C, TG, GH, an all stats upgrade. I'm still sorry, I'm getting used to the fact. Still a little bit of, hold on, I'll take it. Still a little bit of reverb in this room, mostly because I haven't done anything about it yet. Well, I mean, we did. Here's the thing. On the wall that I'm speaking towards, there's so much foam, and only some of it falls down. That's getting nailed up with permanence this weekend. I gotta do something about the fact that the rest of the room is just hardwood. The ceiling is hard. I have no decorations, etc., etc. But for now, enjoy the cathedral-esque nature. Wouldn't you? It lends a certain gravitas to what I'm saying. It makes it sound that much more important. Wouldn't you say? I gotta say, by the way, first off, today is a good day. Sure, why not? I mean, it's early. I don't know what's gonna happen yet. Might end up being the best day of my life. Could end up being the worst day of my life. Could end up being the last day of my life. Yikes. Could end up being the first day of the rest of my life. Anyway, there's a lot of options, is all I'm trying to say. In all likelihood, I'll record some Isaac, stream, eat a delicious lunch, etc., etc. You can't really complain about that. But we got anecdotes. The garden hose of my life has finally had the moving clog removed. So yesterday, my wife and I were actually able to leave the house. I know, it's incredible. Excuse me, I'll just be taking these, if you don't mind, and you'll be giving me small rock, please, and okay, whatever. We left the house. We saw a late showing of the new Taika Waititi, good old New Zealand boy, Taika Waititi. Okay, I'm not gonna do the Don Cherry impression because he's been retired, so I should retire it as well. The new Taika Waititi movie, Jojo Rabbit. Yes, of course, I love What We Do in the Shadows. Who doesn't? I love Thor Ragnarok. Who doesn't? But I also like Taika Waititi's his back collection. You know, the deep cuts. Back in like 2009, maybe even a little earlier now that I think about it, he released this movie called Eagle vs. Shark. And it's not a great movie. I just want to head that off of the past. But it is charming. It's kind of like a New Zealand sort of Napoleon Dynamite, but a little darker, for sure. I like that too. I have to say, so we saw Jojo Rabbit. How do I feel about Jojo Rabbit? First off, I have to tell you, Jojo Rabbit is a movie that takes place during the Second World War. If in case you've forgotten that on the way in, I don't think we can do that right off the bat. That's just too scary. I appreciate the offer. It's just a little too spooky, okay? We'll think about that. In case you forgot it was about the Second World War, you're gonna remember by about the 14th trailer about a movie about the First or Second World War. I'll take it, but it's not immediately that beneficial. A Hidden Life, the new Terrence Malick film, takes place in the Second World War. Sam Mendes' new movie, 1917, takes place during the First World War. I'm surprised they didn't blow off the dust cover on like a... Go ahead. Feels like I'm walking on like a Dunkirk trailer just to get it together. But anyway, so I'm a fan of Taika Waititi's irreverent brand of heart and soul style absurdity. Pseudo precious slapstick, etc., etc. About halfway through Jojo Rabbit, I'll admit, I was like, this is maybe a little too precious for me. You know, like I don't know if anybody else has this, but like the skin crawling feeling that that I get whenever somebody says like totes instead of totally or yes or something like that, or my god if they say totes my goats. Every hair follicle on my arm, my neck, my back, and etc., etc. Just, it stands up, and I wish it didn't, because it's judgmental, I'll admit. I guess we're just moving on here. It kind of triggered that vibe for me, where it was just a little bit too musical theater, sort of, even though there's no songs, really. And actually, the soundtrack is really good, but so it's not really a great comparison, to be honest. But just work with me here, I'm not a professional movie critic, okay? But I think it finishes strong. It's got some real touching stuff in it, good heart. I feel comfortable. I gave it the green, sorry, let me rephrase. I gave it the red tomato, a 6 out of 10 or better. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's a little borderline for me, but I still like it. I also think that if the movie catches you on a vulnerable day, you might leave the movie being like, this is one of the most impactful pieces of cinema I've seen this year. I did not feel that way, I'll admit. But while watching it, it's kind of the same way I felt with watching The Joker, where I was like, if you are into this movie, you're not just going to be like, yeah, it's decent. You're going to be like, this is the most heartfelt movie I've seen in my entire life. But then, we saw it in a part of town that's a little dicey from time to time. But it also is the part of town that has the movie theater that plays the independent stuff, you know? It's where we saw Parasite. It's where we saw a little-known indie gem called Toy Story 4. But it's, you know, they play, you know, like right now they're playing, like, The Lighthouse, Parasite, Jojo Rabbit, etc., etc. Meanwhile, you know, the big theater in Vancouver, well, in, like, downtown Vancouver at least, is playing, like, I don't even know what came out. Midway! Regardless. Oh, Ford versus Ferrari, which I also want to see, but let's, anyway. About, definitely within the final 15 minutes of the movie, started to have some very, you know what? I'll give this a try. Started to have some very concerning moments. And I'm not being facetious here in the least. I heard from the, we were in the second to last row, you know, towards the back in the movie theater. And I started to hear, like, a lot of, like, the sound of legs moving on the ground, and then heavy breathing, grunting, and what sounded like, you know, two people whispering. You know, zippers unzipping, belts being taken off, etc., etc. Kate looked at me, and I was wondering if she had heard it as well. Kate looked at me, I looked at her, and we kind of did, like, some hand signs. You know the ones. We were like, there's two people doing it at the end of Jojo Rabbit. What the heck's going on? It's the first time. And they're not being subtle about it either. They're just freaking going for it. So I didn't look, okay? I didn't look, because I don't know. I would rather just wait for the movie to end and then walk out. I don't want to invite that kind of potential evil into my life, I suppose. And we know the movie's wrapping up. It's doing the wrap-up thing. So I got all these things going through my head. Why would you wait until the end of the movie to do it if you're gonna do it? It just seems like a bad crime. Why wouldn't you wait until, like, you know, 10 minutes into the movie when the lights aren't about to come on? You're inviting this, you're gonna get caught. Anyway, so I mustered up the courage after hearing this. I took like a little peek. I tilted my head a little bit. I took a little peek. And there was just a gentleman. Oh, you were a real creature. There was just a gentleman by himself wearing, an older gentleman, you know, probably in his 50s, wearing a leather jacket. Not that that has anything to do with it, I guess, but by himself, just sitting there. And then he got up and walked out. I can't stress enough. He walked out of the movie with like less than 5 minutes left, which is wild. If you're gonna go see a movie in the first place. And then he, when we left the theater, you know, when the movie is done, as one does, he was holding the door for us and he went back in. Something was not right. I still, right now, Kate and I were trying to come up with theories after the fact. I hate to say it, but I think he was probably giving himself a little self-love, maybe. And clearly, psychologically, something is not in a good spot there. It's not really the kind of movie that, you know, should be provoking those emotions for just a multitude of gross reasons. But anyway, I still either that or maybe he fell asleep and he was just trying to get comfortable, but I really don't know. It was one of the more bizarre experiences I've ever had in a movie theater, especially because it was like he was quiet for the whole movie. But then at the end, it was the grunting and the zipper and the... a little disrespectful. Let's just put it that way. No matter what he was doing, he was making noise. If people are going to get mad that people are eating popcorn during a quiet place, I'm going to be mad if this dude's, you know, no matter what he's doing, he's making some noise. It was a weird showing because it was like 10 p.m. when the movie started. Like 4 people fell asleep. I just don't know, like, look, I've been there, sort of. Not really, actually, now that I think about it. But I've been tired before in my life. This is a very good get for us right here. I just sort of don't understand why you would choose to go see a movie at 10 p.m. if you're prone to cinematic somnambulance, you know? Yeah, okay. I mean, it might be extra invincibility at least here. And we will take this as well. But that's like... that's irrelevant as compared to the dude who was engaging in whatever he was engaged in. It's just like a bizarre movie-going experience. Let's put it that way. But anyway, the movie, would I recommend it? Yeah. Yeah, I would. I don't know. I don't do the thing where people are like, would you recommend seeing it in theaters? Well, I don't know. It's not like Jojo Rabbit really needed... like, the cinematography is nice. But, like, I don't know. Like, there's not that many movies where I'm like... oh, it's not worth seeing in theaters. Like, why don't you just ask the question you want to ask? Which is more like, is this worth paying, like, you know, $7 to $15 to watch right now? Is it worth that? That's really up to you and how much you think it'll resonate with you, I suppose. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, just because it doesn't have big explosions and the Dolby 8.1 Atmos, etc., just because it's not one of those movies, I don't think it's not worth seeing in theaters. You know, I had a good time. Plus, it was cheap night, as Tuesdays always are, for whatever reason. But regardless, that was my night. It was a good time, and that's pretty much it. But it did kind of scare me. I think I've talked about this more on stream than I've talked about it in, like, Isaac videos, but, like, my number one... the number one thing that annoys me is people being impolite but thinking they're being sneaky about it and nobody else knows. Oh my god, we've just completed the perfect crime. We snuck away for half an hour for some hanky-panky, and nobody noticed. No, everybody noticed. We just don't... hey! We just don't care enough to bring it up, and it feels kind of weird that, like, you know, we invited you here for this family reunion and you're doing that stuff. It just feels disrespectful to the familial matriarchs and patriarchs. So my number one, like, it would just grind my gears for weeks, would be a situation like this, where the people behind us in a movie theater were like, we're doing it and nobody even knows, even though we're grunting really loudly. But the good news is, it was just a man maybe going through some stuff, or I don't really know, honestly. It's still just kind of a weird situation. But whatever it is, it wasn't what I thought it was. I don't know what it is, but yes, one man with perhaps some psychological distress, engaging in an inappropriate action by himself, for whatever reason, feels substantially less annoying to me than two people engaging in coitus and thinking that it's the perfect crime. I can't explain it either. Maybe something psychologically is wrong with me. Dude, Glass Cannon has been doing some incredible work for us here. I'm a very, very happy man. The only thing, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, is on the list, including Your Kiss is on the list of the best things in life. That's Holland Oates. Anyway. It's an old joke. And that joke has been made independently by like 9 different media properties. Number one thing is still a respawn. Yes, 9 lives would be chief amongst the options for us. But I'll do you one better. I'll like broaden what I'm looking for. If I could just get like a teleport card, I'd be pretty stoked. It would allow me to get a free item from Boss Rush if Boss Rush was a little stinky and had a steering wheel that fly out the window while I driving. Then we could always use it to just, you know, get us out of a room if we got hit on it early, for example. Definitely like DPS. Still a bit of a concern. It's pretty good, and Glass Cannon helps out, like, a ton. It's really, like, the one unique situation where Glass Cannon is useful. I think you gotta... Well, here's... I actually think you might... you might benefit from just trying Yera and seeing what you get. A world card. Well... I don't mind using it. And seeing what we have, and then probably taking another world card with us. So I'm just trying to... Isaac's room is worth going to because with Isaac's room, if we get a black market, we probably do not just win the game. Wow, okay. Never mind. But it is very helpful. I'm not going to go to the curse room. I find that just modestly... It's more scary than the reward potential is good, I think, right now. Just because of the... Honestly, Glass Cannon really is the big reason why. I can't give you 13 reasons why, but I can give you 1. And the 1 is Glass Cannon. That was a spooky one. I don't even know what hit us there, so... The world is like a consolation prize. It's also a vampire, but it's not a teleport card. But it has some efficacy. There's no doubt about that. Okay. I don't mind. Mostly because of this. Okay. Well, I still don't mind, but... Okay, never mind. We got a sack. You got something good for me in there? I gotta focus for a second, then I got a bit loaded up, I promise, okay? I just don't want to get hit early on this one because it's very dangerous. We can't teleport out. Some of these enemies are, you know, not created equally. A little bit more focus required for a few of these jokers. You know what? I didn't even see the Tinted Rock. I appreciate it. This is really illuminating for me that my DPS woes are probably fair. Thank you for the invincibility. One more? We did it. Okay, hold on. Deal with the devil. We gotta check. I had a feeling, you know, this was potentially on the docket for us, but that's okay. We'd like Lump of Coal. Lump of Coal would be good. Apart from that, sure, thank you. Apart from that, we'll take a peek into the boss trap room, but in all likelihood, it's not what we want. Golden Teleporter is kind of interesting. Money equals power. All the other ones are not quite good enough to justify doing the rooms, but anyway. I was talking about it last night, and I was like, you know, I think I've seen a lot of movies this year. I'm not a movie critic by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. I think I'm comfortable saying, as of, you know, mid to late November, in all likelihood, my favorite movie of 2019 is gonna be Parasite. I think it's really if you haven't seen it, it's the Korean. Here's the thing: if you've been following the movie on Twitter, you're gonna think the movie is perhaps a heavy-handed story about capitalism and class. It has themes like that, but is not heavy-handed, if that makes sense. It's a very, like, on top of having meaning on that level, it's just a very entertaining and watchable movie on top of that. Like, a lot of movies, like, I'll tell you, let me out, please. Prior to seeing Parasite, my favorite movie of 2019 was probably Midsommar. Midsommar is like, it's a movie that I really love, but it is kind of hard to recommend. It's slow. It's also, it's long. It's the follow-up to a very, like, critically acclaimed piece of media that a lot of people feel does not hold up to the pedigree of the original. Like, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that is easy to not like. I love it nonetheless. Parasite is like the exact opposite. Like, that movie is rich with layers. On the first level, or layer, just to keep that resonance, you know, it's a very entertaining story. Like, it's a good story told well. And then there's a lot of, like, on the filmmaker level, or let's just say the film watcher, because the only film I've ever helped make was Dragon Slayer Doppelganger. Now, I do have to say, it is one of IMDb's top-rated short films of all time. But anyway, okay, it's useless, but we'll take it. But there's, you know, watching it through the second time, you pick up on a lot of extra stuff. It's a beautiful movie to watch in the first place. You know, and then it does have, you know, it's got more than parallels to, like, you know, the modern climate. Like, what's the opposite of parallel? It's parallel, but it also starts and ends in the same position. You know, it's like, it's not parallel, it's a clone. Anyway, and that's why, like, first, I liked it when I watched it. And I've liked it more as I've thought of it as well. I think it's one of those, you know, some years you're like, my favorite movie was blah. It was pretty good. This one, I'm like, yo, Parasite is like, it's one of those movies that at least, you know, I haven't seen every movie that's ever come out. That's just absurd. I mean, just there's like 20 Land Before Times. But anyway, like, Parasite is one of those movies that I think when a lot of people watch it, and this is how I felt, I was like, this is not like a once-a-year movie. This has the potential to be like people's favorite movie of the past 5 or 10 years, I think. And the fact that it's maintained that kind of, like, word-of-mouth momentum, even as more people have seen it, is rare in and of itself as well. Because a lot of people, even myself sometimes, you know, when something's getting hyped up, like, oh, it's so good, you gotta go see it. When you go see it, you go, well, in my head, I had been led to believe that this was, you know, a staggering work of magnificent genius, the likes of which I couldn't possibly comprehend, you know? People almost have a chip on their shoulder about, like, oh, so many people like this, I must be a true discerning genius if I find problems with it. But even then, most people are like, nah, I saw it, it owns. You're absolutely right. So that's my number one for 2019. I feel like this is the first year in a long time where I'm like, I got my movie for 2019 locked in. I got my game for 2019 locked in. It's still Slay the Spire, even if I haven't played it in a while. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and the fart grow yonder. And that's the only 2 forms of media I actually care about. Read a book released in 2019? Are you insane? I still haven't finished the Brothers Karamazov. Okay, be careful. You're fine. You're fine. We might as well. We're doing a lot with a little on this run, and I deserve no credit. This is entirely like Glass Cannon's run to lose. So I'm just holding Degas, thinking that maybe in the future we'll be able to use it to purge like a really bad curse on the next floor, or not. I don't know. We're definitely like, I'm open to picking up some cards to take with us. It's a speed upgrade, which is actually pretty nice. Okay, these guys not dying in a single hit. Very scary. These are some of the most cursed enemies in the game. So many spiders, though. Don't do it. There's only one of you. Oh, he's done it. I was surprised when I tweeted. I made like a joke tweet about like Game of the Year 2019. But it was like only half a joke. I was like, because the Game Awards nominees came out. And I mean, here's the thing. I disagree with a lot of them. But it's hard to disagree with them as well. Because these are games that are not only like popular, but pretty critically acclaimed. So like, you know, for example, like the one that I take issue with having just finished it is honestly The Outer Worlds. I think that that is a good game. For it to be... Well, again, let me rephrase, okay? It's less that something like The Outer Worlds, which I thought was competent and pretty good, but not quite great. It's less that something like that was nominated, and it's more that, like, the nominations almost every year are, like, 5 huge AAA games, and then if an indie game gets nominated, it's considered like, oh my god, it must be one of the greatest games ever made. Like last year, Celeste was nominated for Game of the Year, and for me personally, I can't help but like I can't help to shake the idea that like it almost feels like they're doing that indie game a favor. It's like, in most circumstances, we wouldn't possibly consider an indie game to stand up to the cinematic greatness of something like, you know, blamp, 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 blamp. But, you know, in this one unique case, it's just, it's like getting a foreign language movie nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, you know? It's like, they will nominate a lot of, you know, middling to good movies that are in English over spectacular films in another language. It takes something truly transcendent to get to that level. You know, like Roma, I suppose. Anyway. So, like, I find that Game of the Year award nominees, like, kind of boring. But I also recognize it's just sort of not for me. But anyway. So in the joke tweet, which is where we started this, and then we got very real, well, I'm not ready for that yet, because, like, I honestly think games like, you know, and so this is a bit hypocritical of me, but I've not played Disco Elysium, but everybody that I've talked to that's played Disco Elysium has, by and large, been like, this is a masterpiece. To see Disco Elysium and Slay the Spire merely be recognized in like some weird category like Mountain Dew's Indie Game of the Year, I find it a little, even as someone who didn't make the game, I find it like a little patronizing and maybe even a little insulting, dare I suggest. If that makes sense. Even though I didn't make it, I'm like, they're not like the best. Oh, we should have done this in a different order. I'm going to take it anyway, though, because I think it'll make Glass Cannon a lot better. They're not the best, like, indie games of the year. Like, Slay the Spire is one of the best games of, like, the decade, in my opinion. Now, everybody, you're entitled to agree to disagree. I'm just giving you my opinion on why, like, the award show doesn't interest me that much. But anyway, so the nominees, you know, they weren't really up my alley for the most part. Sekiro, I'll admit. That is very much up my alley. So I made a tweet that I was like, the actual Game of the Year nominees from 2019. Slay the Spire. Tetris 99. The fight from Sekiro where you think the Guardian Ape is dead but is actually not dead. Getting trapped in invisible blocks on some 12-year-old's troll level in Super Mario Maker 2 while the game laughs at you. And then, of course, everyone's favorite to win, the Deadly Premonition 2 announcement teaser. But, like, it wasn't really that much of a joke tweet. But anyway, I was like, it's a joke tweet, but it is what I believe, kind of. There's a lot of truth in that tweet. Anyway, but I was surprised, and this is where I originally started this conversation. Like, more than one person, I won't say a lot of people, but more than one person tweeted me and went, help. It's very sad to see that there's no Isaac on this list. And I hope that a lot of you are saying the same thing that I'm saying, which is, why would it be on the list? Nothing related to the Binding of Isaac has come out in 2019. Like, I want to be clear, the phrasing of these tweets was not like, you left off Bumbo, which I think is a good game. The phrasing of the tweets is like, where's the Binding of Isaac content? I'm pretty sure Booster Pack 5 came out in like January of 2018. What is the... And moreover, Booster Pack 5 is not making the Game of the Year nomination list. First off, it's not even a game. Secondly, I think you know my opinion on some bloat-related issues in Isaac recently. Regardless, it just reminded me that, like, you know, I am privy, and some other people are as well, to all of the content that I make. So, like, I know what I've said in this series, in Premium Bowling, in Abandoned Ship, in Tetris 99, blah, blah, in Bumbo, etc., on the NLSS. But there's, like, a large swath of the youtube.com/Northernlion viewer base that is, you know, I'm not going to say they only watch Isaac, because I think, like, if you look at the numbers, it's not really, like, the series is not like, you know, the Big Bang Theory. We're not pulling in, like, tens of millions of viewers with every new episode. But, you know, there's a large swath of people that, through me having created that content over the years, are only familiar with me through that, and they might take almost offense to me not giving Isaac some credit in the Game of the Year list, because it's like the first time it's happened, or maybe like the second time in 7 years. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It was a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!